Good day everyone, especially to you mga kantal. I am Ray Martin Garde, the facilitator of the Pasalten. Today we are going to report about intelligence and crime and psychoanalytic theory. What is intelligence and what is a crime? So intelligence is a complex and multifaceted concept that encompasses various abilities and skills, meaning intelligence refers to our capacity to learn, understand, and apply knowledge and skills to solve problems. And a crime is a deliberate act that causes physical or psychological harm, damage to or loss of property, and is against the law. So, intelligence and crime. Does intelligence influence criminal behavior, and if so, how? So, the study of intelligence in criminological research has evolved and flowed considerably during centuries. So, in the first quarter of the 1900s, of studies categorized criminal offenders as feeble-minded and mentally deficient. Means that they thought criminals have low intelligence and mental abilities. As criminologists have suggested for centuries that there exists a link between intelligence and crime. Some common beliefs are that criminals and delinquents possess low intelligence, and this low intelligence causes to criminality. So people with low intelligence are more likely engaged in crime. So this view suggests that low intelligence could lead to poor decision making and eventually criminal behavior. The ability to predict criminals from non-criminals is the ultimate goal. So the ideology or concept of IQ and crime has crystallized into nature versus nurture debate. So researchers debate whether criminal behavior is mainly due to nature or through our genetics and intelligence, or nurture through our environment or life experiences. So this discussion tries to understand if low intelligence is something people are born with, or if it develops due to circumstances in one's life. So the nature-nurture debate, nature argument, so emphasizes the role of heredity in determining intelligence. So intelligence is largely influenced by our genes, meaning traits from our parents or family history can shape how intelligent we are. So if intelligence is somewhat inherited, it could impact a person's abilities and choices in life. Next, researchers suggest inmates often score lower on IQ tests. So studies found that people who end up in jail often have lower scores on IQ tests. So this suggests that there might be a connection between having lower intelligence and ending up involved in crime. But it doesn't necessarily mean that all people with low intelligence commits crime. Next. Early studies showed a high percentage of delinquents with below average intelligence. When researchers look at the young people who broke the law, they noticed that many have low average IQ. So this finding raised a question whether having low intelligence might lead to trouble in life, like getting into legal trouble or failing in school. So case studies, Hersky and hindi lang, they said that low IQ increases likelihood of crime through its effect on school performance and limited opportunities. So these researchers found that people with low intelligence are more likely to get involved in crime. So they argued that having low intelligence often makes school harder, so leading to poor performance and fewer job opportunities. So this lack of success and frustration can make a crime more appealing as a way to gain status or money. So according to Bernstein and Murray, so individuals with low IQ are more likely to commit crime, get caught, and incarcerated. So in their study, they found that people of lower intelligence are more likely engage in crime and easily get caught. So this could be because having low intelligence might make it harder to plan or consider the consequences of their action, leading to risky choices that can result in arrest or jail.
In a nurture argument, there have significant role of environment factors in shaping intelligence and behavior, which is there are some key aspects, which is the one is the environmental influence, which the factors like education, psychoeconomic status, and life experiences shape the intelligence, which is the intelligence is heavily influenced by external factors, which of the quality of education and the economic status of the individuals and the life experiences. Second is the parental influence. The early childhood experiences of a person, including the parental involvement and education, can be impact the cognitive development of the person. When the parental involvement can be nurturing and educating, it can be play crucial role in cognitive development. Example is when a parent is gina-train nila ang ilang anak pagbata pa og basa, ihap, drawing, which is it can be developed their better cognitive skill and emotional stability. Third is the social disadvantage. It is the limited access to resources and opportunities can increase the vulnerability to the crime. When the individuals from disadvantaged background with a limited access to the resources and opportunities are more vulnerable to the engaging in criminal behavior. Example of this are the poverty, lack of education, and insufficient social support can create environments where crime becomes a more likely path. In our overall, nature argument is highlighting that intelligence and behavior are not solely determined by genetics but are also significantly shaped by one's environmental and experiences. In overall, intelligence is influenced by both genetic and environmental factors. That studies have shown that genes play a significant role in determining an individual's intelligence, suggesting that intelligence can be inherited to some extent. However, there have environmental factors such as education, socioeconomic status, and life experiences also play a crucial in a role shaping intelligence. It is not solely inherited, it is a combination of nature and nurture.
So the next topic is the psychoanalytic theory.
Psychoanalytic theory. Psychoanalytic theory was established by Sigmund Freud. This is to explain how unconscious ideas and early events shape human nature. It suggests that our thoughts, feelings, and action are deeply influenced by unconscious desires, fears, and memories, many of which are rooted in early childhood experience. According to Freud, the ID, ego, and superego are the three main components of the mind. This structure interact continuously to shape a person's thinking, action, as well as disposition. These three components constantly interact, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and overall disposition. The ID's ideas The ID's desire, the ego's rationality, and the superego's moral standards are, are a continuous dynamic balance, which is this interaction shape how we think, act, and respond to the world around us. Psychoanalytic theory help us to understand the deep, often hidden motivation behind our behavior and how early experience shape our personality and emotional life.
So let's move on to the psychoanalysis.
Psychoanalysis therapy. Psychoanalysis was founded by Sigmund Freud, which is Freud believed that people could be cured by making conscious their unconscious thoughts and motivations, thus gaining the insight. This therapy is to bring unconscious material to conscious awareness, which allowing the individual to understand and resolve deep-seated conflicts within their self. This can lead to greater self-awareness and emotional healing and behavior change. Psychoanalysis therapy is a form in deep talk therapy that aims to bring unconscious or deeply buried thoughts and feelings to the conscious mind so that repressed experience and emotion, often from childhood, can be brought to the surface and examined. This process is typically a long-term therapy involving frequent sessions which the patient relies on a coach with a therapist sitting out of sight to facilitate free association and minimize distraction of the patient. This process can take years and it delves deeply into the patient psyche. Psychoanalysis is commonly used to treat depression and anxiety disorder or traumatic experience.
In my topic for today is all about the ID. The ID is so-called the primal instinct. So what is this primal instinct? This is the basic and inherent behaviors and drives into actions. These instincts are mga unconscious, mga automatic, nga wala maka-influence in the societal norms. The ID is the primitive part of the person's mental makeup that is present at birth. So, the ID is present ni sugod pagka buhay into din sa kalibutan. And according to Freud, he believed that the ID is represents as the unconscious biological. So, what means by the unconscious biological? Unconscious biological, it is the automatic response of the human body. Like breathing, it can be automatic, and also the heartbeat. So, the ID is the basic part of the mind that controls natural instinct. It drives action to satisfy needs like mga hunger, thirst that can comfort and seek pleasure from the time a person is being born. So, in the ID pleasure principles, the ID operates on the principle of seeking immediate classification or basic instincts. Means that the ID is focused on satisfying desires and instinct as quickly as possible without knowing the consequences of what you did. It drives behaviors that provide immediate pleasures such as hunger. Like for example, you are hungry while you enter your kitchen and nakakita kag bread dito sa lamisa without nga kato nga bread is para to sa occasions in the afternoon. Then you grab some of the bread without knowing the consequences. In the unconscious and instinctual, the ID is accessed solely in the unconscious mind and is not accessible through conscious. So the ID works without being aware of it. Nga gibuhat ni sa isa ka tawo nga wala siya makahibaw sa unsay iyang gibuhat. So these behaviors are driven by deep natural instinct and impulse that a person may not fully recognize or aware of it or control. The basic drives, these are the ID represents as the primal drives including hunger, thirst, and sexual desire. So the basic drive, these are the needs, wants of a person and can also push the human to do such an actions. So the pleasure principles, unconscious and instinctual, and the basic drive, these three are all related on how the ID operates in human behavior and operates to satisfying desire and immediate needs of what they desire. That's all in my topic, and my other member will continue the discussion.
Let's talk about the ego, the mediator. According to Freud, the ego develops from the id and ensures that the impulses of the id can be expressed in a manner acceptable in the real world. The ego plays a vital role in balancing the conflicting demands of the id, which we call instinctual desires. So, let's talk about the reality principles. The ego develops to balance the id's demands with the realities of the external world. The ego understands that not all desires can be immediately or directly fulfilled, as this might lead to negative consequence. Instead, it delays gratification and finds ways to satisfy the id's impulses within the boundaries of what is realistic and acceptable in the external world. Example of this is, if you're hungry but don't have food readily available, your ego will guide you to wait and buy food rather than stealing it. So let's move on to self-preservation. The ego is responsible for self-preservation and navigating social interaction. The ego is responsible for ensuring the individual's survival and well-being. It helps us navigate social and physical environments in ways that maintain our safety and reputation. Example of this is, if someone insults you, your id might want to react aggressively. However, your ego evaluates the situation and chooses a calmer response to avoid escalating conflict or damaging relationships. Let's talk about compromise and control. The ego seeks to satisfy the id's desires in a realistic and socially acceptable way. The ego acts as a mediator by finding compromises that satisfy the id's desires while adhering the superego's sense of morality and societal rules. It controls impulsive behavior and ensures action are in line with personal and social values. Example of it, you might feel like skipping an important class to relax. Your ego balances this by convincing you to attend the class and relax afterward, maintaining responsibility while still addressing your need for rest. In overall, the ego is a mediator that ensures harmony between instructural desires, moral expectation, and the real world. It plays a critical and role in helping us function effectively and responsibly in society by finding a balance between impulse and consequences.
Good day everyone, good day ma'am. My topic is all about the superego, what they called as the moral compass. To start our discussion, let's clarify what the superego is. In the realm of the psychology, the superego is one of the three parts of our personality, alongside the ID and the ego. While the ID represents our primal desires, and the ego mediates between our desire and reality, the superego embodies around moral standards of ideas. The superego, which developed around the 4 or 5 years, incorporates the moral of society. Peirce believes that the superego is what allows the mind to control impulse, for example like cheating, stealing, disrespecting, etc. nga dili maayo morally. The morality principle of superego develops through internalization, societal morals and values, which means that the morality principle refers to how our sense of right and wrong and our moral compass shift by the societal we live in. I think superego is a kind of inner voice consciousness that develop as they grow up. This inner voice is influenced by the rules, values, and expectation of the people around, such as the parents, teachers, and the community members. How does it develop? As a children, we observe and absorb the behavior and belief of those around us. This process is called internalization. For example, is if a child sees their parents helping others, they learn what the kindness is, the value traits, conscience, and guilt of superego. Superego acts as our conscience, guiding us in determining what is right and wrong based of the values we have learned from our families, cultural societies, when we behave ways that align when these moral principles, we often feel sense, satisfaction, and approval. However, when stray from this standard, the superego triggers feeling of guilt. This guilt is important emotional response. It serves as a signal that we have violated our moral code. The superego is encourage us to reflect on our action and consider there are consequences not only for ourselves but also for others. In this way, it plays a vital role in promoting ethical behaviors and social harmony. Ideal self of superego represents that ideal self striving for perfection and moral righteousness. It means that the ideal self is essential, the version of ourselves that we aspire to do. It's our vision of perfection. Terms of moral ethics and behavior, the superego plays a crucial role shaping this ideal self by instilling values and principles that we have strived uphold. Striving for perfection and superego. It is encouraged us to aim for the moral righteousness. It sets the high standards for our behavior, pushing us to act in the ways that align with our values. For instance, when we feel guilty for not helping someone in need, that feeling is often a reflection of our superego, reminding us of our ideal self, someone who is compassionate and altruistic, balancing aspiration and reality. However, it's important to recognize that striving for this ideal can sometimes lead to internal conflict. While the superego motivates us to be our best self, it can be also create feelings of inadequacy. If we fall short of this high standard, this is where the ego comes in, helping us balance our aspiration with the realities of human imperfection.